Welcome back to the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix 2025 here at NCM Motorsports Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky. My name is Jonathan Mullen. I am on the FSGP staff here, and we're happy to welcome you back on our live stream this afternoon with several new cars on the track. For one, right now you're watching Montana State, number 406, completing laps on the track today. They got on the track yesterday afternoon, very late, and have been out for a lot of the day today. We also have other new teams joining out on the track today, including Illinois State, Missouri S&T, and a few others who are close to getting out there as well. So we'll get you an update on the scores overall shortly. I want to introduce here with me, as well as our head dynamics inspector, Byron Isengard, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the process for the teams to get out on the track.
So yeah, what does it take to get a team on the Formula Sun Grand Prix track? Basically, it's a lot of hard work and diligence from those teams over a course of 1 to 2 years. They start with a concept and a design, draw something up, start making it, fabricate it, whether it's machining components, doing composites, electrical work, PCB, electronics. Any number of processes that they have to do to make the car. Ideally, they build the car, they get it assembled and tested before the event, and then they get on the road or on the track to get to the event when we get everybody together once a year for a Formula Sun Grand Prix or an American Solar Challenge. This year we have a Formula Sun Grand Prix, so it's a 3-day track event, 3 days of scrutineering followed by 3 days of a track event. And basically, to get on the track, they go through 2 to 3 days of static inspections. So there's a mechanical inspection, there's an electrical inspection, there's a battery protection system inspection, there is a body and sizing inspection, and a few other things to make sure that the cars are safe, that they are built to how they said they were going to build them, and essentially get ready to go on the road or on the track. Then after they do their static inspections, they go to the dynamics area and do a dynamics test. So the dynamics is what I am in charge of during the Formula Sun Grand Prix. We have a U-turn test, which is basically checking how tight their car can turn. It has to turn in between 2 cones, I think 18 meters apart, might be 16. Have to look at the regs there. They then go into a figure 8, which is basically checking stability and for any rubbing, any noises that the car actually might make while it's going around, and they have to do that within a certain amount of time. So imagine you're continuously in a left turn or a right turn at speed, and we basically check to see how stable the car is and that it can do that inside that area. Then we do a slalom test or a wet braking test, and basically both of those are designed to check that the car is safe before going on the track. The slalom test basically is a run-up of a car where it passes through a series of cones spaced 18 meters apart. Imagine kind of like a moose test or something where you're having to lane change back and forth several times very quickly at a speed around 23 to 25 miles an hour. And basically zooming back and forth between those cones. We check for stability, we check for control, we check to see if the drivers are able to control the car, and once they get through that, then they go through a braking inspection. Basically we get to play with the fire hose for 2 or 3 days and get a whole bunch of asphalt wet and basically have those cars drive around. We have a radar gun, and we essentially make them come in at a speed of around 25 miles an hour and come to a controlled stop within a certain amount of time. They're not allowed to use regenerative braking, so they have to use 100% mechanical brakes, and that's essentially designed to ensure that the car under any situation can come to a safe and complete stop. Something new that we introduced this year is an acceleration test. We're actually gathering data for it this year, and essentially the cars are asked to accelerate from a dead stop to about 18 meters, and then we get a time for that. You don't think of a solar car as a quick vehicle, but in the American Solar Challenge we have quite hilly terrain depending on what part of the country we're operating in, and so we're trying to figure out a way to determine what teams and what it takes to actually compete in the American Solar Challenge effectively without stalling on slight hills and things like that. So the acceleration test is essentially some data that we're gathering this year to review and see what type of limit it looks like. So that's dynamics, and then they come on the track. So
Thanks, Byron. So this year we gave teams an additional day yesterday on the first day, and we got 4 or 5 more teams through dynamics yesterday. So for these last teams, as they're going through dynamics, what are the struggles you're seeing typically? What is the challenges that teams are facing at dynamics?
yeah, a lot of teams face dynamic challenges, whether it be mechanical, electrical, or stability. Think of your car as maybe being run for the first time at speed after you've built it, and things are being driven and pushed towards their limit mechanically, but also electrically. So we're asking for relatively high accelerations, high current draws. We're driving the car around for the first time, so any loose connections are going to come loose. We see a lot of battery protection system faults from current limits not being set in the motor controllers and things like that correctly. Batteries are low, batteries are overcharged, things that teams are learning, but it's kind of sometimes the first time they may or may not have driven the car. We've also seen stability issues where cars may or may not actually be able to stay controlled through the slalom, whether that be a suspension-related fault or weight imbalance or driver skill or whatever it be. We are inspecting for those things too. So essentially, you have a couple of days to work through those problems and figure it out, and we do our best to get teams on the track.
Exactly. So for anyone at home who may be on a team planning to come, or anyone watching this back after the event who's on a team that's not here or didn't make it on the track, what piece of advice can you give for them to get through dynamics at Formula Sun Grand Prix or next summer for American Solar Challenge?
Yeah, the biggest recommendation is to get your car tested prior to coming to the event. Make sure that it drives. Make sure that it's got a couple 100 miles on it. Take it for a drive around campus. Take it for a drive on a local road. Maybe coordinate with your local municipality or whatnot, and say, hey, can we drive it? Or just if it's a licensed vehicle, take it out on the road and get some miles on it. Start slow and build up to that. Testing essentially gets you through quickly. Get your paperwork submitted and get a spot so that you can get through static and dynamic inspections relatively quickly. It is possible to get through on 1 or 2 days. If you get registered early, get everything in, you can get through in a single day or 2 days and get a pole position on the starting line.
Yeah, so this year we opened dynamics on day 2 of scrutineering, and I think you had a couple teams waiting, ready to start.
Yep.
Right in the morning on day 2.
Yeah, we had a few teams ready in the morning. We actually got a rather pleasant rain shower right in the middle of the day. We were out there. It's a good opportunity to test waterproofing and things like that as well. But we got a few teams through day 1, a few more teams through day 2, and a few more teams through day 3. And everybody that's on the track now is progressed through dynamics.
Great. So let's get an update here we have 14 teams out here. I want to say thanks to Byron for joining us and giving that explanation. I think he's going to head out now.
Yep.
And we will get you a update on the 14 teams that are on the track so far today. So as I mentioned, there are 14 teams on the track today. Once again, our 2 MOV teams are leading the lap count, with Poly Montreal at 46 laps and App State right behind them at 45. In the SOV class, then we have a number of teams right around 40 laps. Florida Polytech has 41 laps. Washington has 40. Stanford has 16. Stanford is number 16. They have 39 laps. Illinois has 38. Western Michigan 31. Berkeley 27. Florida 20. Montana State 9. Virginia Tech 7, Missouri S&T 6, Illinois State 5, and our last MOV, Georgia Tech, has 12. So those are the 14 teams out there today. We have a couple additional teams who could get out there, which includes University of Austin at University of Texas at Austin, excuse me. So hopefully we see them out there later today. UBC was out here yesterday, and we hope to see them out here today as well. Right now it looks like we are following App State around. We can bring you back to our front straight here. We have Stanford coming up the front straight. At the end of the day is fastest lap, and I think Stanford's fastest lap was about 5 seconds faster yesterday. However, Stanford and Illinois have fallen down a little bit today in the rankings, a few laps behind some of the other teams who got out today. University of Washington got on the track at the end of the day yesterday to attempt just a single lap, make sure their car is ready to go, and give it a little bit of a shakedown on the track. And they've been out today driving very consistently. Florida Poly continues to crank out the laps. Their car's been on the track. So we just saw passing the front straight, App State getting passed by Berkeley. And behind them there, you just saw the Western Michigan car. We have our drone, Sunny, coming up the front straight here. Off to the right, you can see one of our rescue vans rescuing a car. That would be the Georgia Tech car. Anytime a car breaks down on the track, the team has the choice. If they think it can be resolved just by restarting the car, they'll let the team work a rescue vehicle in order to bring extra team members out to either repair the car or tow it back. More in-depth repairs. There we have the University of Washington car. Sockeye, car number 18. That was a 5.5 minute lap. In terms of total laps over the last 2 days up to this point, I can give you a number for that. As of 1 p.m., we collect official lap counts every 1 hour, so I can get you an update on that in probably 20 minutes. But as of 1 p.m., Illinois and Stanford are still tied with 102 total laps, and Stanford again has the tiebreaker by about 6 seconds. And number 3, Florida Poly has just slightly overtaken the University of California, Berkeley. Florida Poly has 87, Berkeley has 85, and Western Michigan is in 5th with 81. Behind them is Florida, number 5, with 48 laps. Washington has 33. Waterloo has 23. Montana State had 4. Missouri S&T and Virginia Tech, each with 3. Since 1 o'clock, Illinois State has also got out there to get laps. UT Austin and UBC, we hope we'll see today by the end of the day. In our MOV class, we can talk about laps, but we also have scores from the end of the day yesterday. In terms of lap counts, Poly Montreal leads by 2 laps with 118 to App State's 116, and Georgia Tech has 13. But in terms of MOV score, yesterday at the end of the day, Poly Montreal had 54 as their score, App State at 21.3, and Georgia Tech at 0.5. So one of the factors in the score is external energy, which teams tend to do wall charging overnight, and our scores are published at the end of the race day. So that doesn't really account for any external charging at this point. So the numbers today will be a lot more interesting to see when we know how much external energy the teams charged before the day today. That was Florida Poly again, passing the front straight, doing about a 6.5 minute lap pretty consistently here. They are leading the SOV class in laps today. So I have Byron back with me now. So we have a question, Byron, about how did you get involved with the American Solar Challenge, and a little bit about what next year's challenge will be with the American Solar Challenge.
Okay, Jonathan. So yeah, I raced back in the day with Western Michigan University. I grew up in Michigan, and a lot of the teams, there's a lot of the staff members that are on staff are essentially ex-team members, and it's such an addicting sport, addicting hobby. You love it every year, and basically we continue to come back. But when I was looking for colleges, I looked at several within the state of Michigan, and I looked at Michigan Tech, I looked at Western Michigan, I looked at U of M, and I looked at Michigan State. And at the time, I kind of grew up in Kalamazoo and also had gone to school nearby Western Michigan University, and had heard about the solar car team, and basically kind of last year of high school figured out how to get connected with the team, and so basically from there on I was helping build solar cars. So from 2009 through about 2013 I was part of their team, did several events at Circuit of the Americas in Crescent, Texas, and a few other American solar challenges, and basically just fall in love with it every summer, getting to build cars, hang out, the technical challenges, all that type of stuff. And then, after I did that for a number of years, I got involved with staff. I basically signed up to be a volunteer, and started out doing battery protection and just helping set up stage and checkpoint crews, which are what we use, the vehicles that we have along the race route that help set up all the stagecraft and the start-stop lines. And as things progressed, I kind of continued to do it, and moved over into dynamics inspection as openings happened. So migrated up towards the head dynamics inspector role, and on the American Solar Challenge, I'm also a clerk of course, and basically help run that type of stuff. Next year's American Solar Challenge is unknown where it's going to go. But it most likely will be somewhere sunny, hopefully, and we'll probably proceed east to west, but who knows? And we'll see. But it looks like next year's event will be pretty cool if we have a very similar turnout of vehicles this year.
Thanks, Byron. So like Byron, I was also a solar car racer back at the University of Illinois. I was a student there back in mid-2015 through 2019. So I raced here in one American Solar Challenge and one Formula Sun Grand Prix. A few years later, I joined the staff, and now here in this role where one of my primary jobs is to bring it to you here live on from the track. And last year we did also from various checkpoints and stage stops at the American Solar Challenge. And as Byron said, we don't know where we'll be next summer. We are actively working on that, so we hope to be able to share that info with teams and the public in the coming months. If you happen to own a racetrack and want to invite us to come start at your racetrack, please get in touch. We're always looking for interesting places to bring the solar cars. It's always fun to go to new places and bring the solar car teams and their solar cars to new people.
Yeah, or even checkpoints or stage stops if you're associated with a municipality or a business or anything like that. We're always looking for places that can host a checkpoint or stage stop. So if that's something after the route's announced or you're interested, that can help make that decision as well. So if you're interested in something like that, reach out, AmericanSolarChallenge.org, and connect with us. Thank you.
Exactly. Yes, the race goes where we have people willing to have us and willing to provide space for all the solar cars and solar car teams to stop by.
So Jonathan, it looks like it gets hot in there. I've never been a driver in a solar car. I just don't fit. I'm 6'5" and a little bit big. But, is there air conditioning in there? It's kind of a hot day. We're standing in the shade and it's still warm up here.
So I actually was a solar car driver. Byron may remember as I went through his dynamics inspections back in 2018, 2019. And it does get quite hot. So there are regulations that require that the drivers have adequate airflow. So you can either do forced air if you provide an inlet on a part of the car that gets good airflow, or you can use fans for the drivers to provide them with cooling. Other teams have good strategies, such as loading the driver up with lots of cold water to serve not only as hydration but also cooling. But on top of all that, it's still really hard to keep yourself cool in a solar car. I often brought snacks such as carrots and cucumbers or grapes, frozen grapes even, into the solar car to help keep myself cool. But we do have a limit of 6 hours per day per driver, and we of course reserve the right to make that shorter in very hot conditions. But it can easily get, I would say, upwards of 100 degrees inside of a solar car. So your drivers need to be prepared to that with their hydration. They should hydrate before they get in the solar car, and of course lots of sunscreen and water throughout the day.
We're also looking out for signs of dehydration and overheating and things like that. There's just, it happens unfortunately, but we do our best to monitor for that and avoid it. So.
Yeah, so far this year, I think teams have had more problem with electronics overheating than drivers overheating. So it's not just a driver problem in the solar car keeping cool. You have batteries, motors, maximum power point trackers, solar arrays, and all of those like to be cool.
Yeah, the name of the game is energy management, right? So air conditioning, unfortunately, isn't really an option, but we maintain airflow. One of the things we struggle with is battery temperature. So if you think about the the track temp, if it's 100 degrees outside, the track temp in the sun is probably 130, 140 degrees. And a battery, may or may not like shutting down around 113 to 150 degrees. So that's something that the teams have to plan for. And if we have an incredibly hot day, mid-afternoon, it's not unusual to see cars pulling off the track due to thermal management. So that's something to keep in mind as you're designing your car.
So it looks like we have our 15th team joining the track today. So we'll see them as they make it around on their first lap of the day, but that would be car number 24 from the University of Waterloo. And see, we have some questions about car number 26 from UBC. I will try to get some answers on where they're at. I know they're working through some issues with their motor. As soon as they get that resolved, they are clear for the track. So they should be able to get out here once they can get that resolved. I know they're getting some help from their friends over in Toronto. So hopefully they can work together and get their car on the track today. That car you just saw go past, the number 17 car, is the Illinois State car, who passed Dynamics yesterday, along with the rest of their static scrutineering stations, and joined on the track this morning. It's a brand new car from Illinois State, who placed third last summer at the American Solar Challenge with their previous car. They are running about 6 minutes 20 seconds on that last lap.
This is corner 14B. It seems that Illinois tried to pass a car, but there was another car that tried to pass them, and it was a whole kerfuffle.
Control copies 14B. Sounds okay.
That was the number 5 car from the University of Florida. Also a new car from them this year, doing 6 minute 15-second laps.
It's also in the sun, so maybe I back it up a little bit.
Now I've got a whole crew of cars coming up the front of the track. There you have Florida Poly in front, number 79, passing Western Michigan, and the University of Illinois also passing Western Michigan. Next up is Calsol, and finally the University of Washington. So there's 5 of our SOV cars making their way through. Just past the line here where we're looking, Calsol also executed a pass past Western Michigan. The University of Illinois car team seems to be catching up to Florida Poly.
Our 23, Virginia Tech, is coming into pit.
So depending on the time of day, teams will decide to run their car differently. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're in a better spot than another team. Some teams like to drive faster laps in the middle of the day. Other teams find their strategy to drive more consistent laps throughout the day. It depends on their car, their thermal management, their battery management. It's all part of the strategy to get the most laps by the end of the 3 days. It's a long 24 hours on the track. And here we have the Montana State car number 406. They are doing just about 8-minute laps right now. It's good to see them back out there after some electrical issues early today.
charging field.
So a few updates on some of our cars that are not out here. I have a question about the UBC team. They are still working on getting that new motor in their car. So yesterday, while driving, something happened that damaged their motor. They've borrowed a spare from Toronto and are working on getting that one working. They're hoping they'll get out today, but they still have some work to do to get that all wired correctly and working properly with the rest of their electrical system. The Georgia Tech car is having some issues additionally, or also with their motor. I saw them earlier today working on getting their motor controller wiring adjusted. They were also hoping to be out here this afternoon. Missouri S&T car just pulled into the pit, it looks like. This is a very similar car to a few previous years. One of the things that is different on this car is the roll cage, which necessitated a different canopy. So that may look different to you if you're familiar with their car. Since this car was built a few years ago, the regulations on the roll cage have significantly changed, so they had to make some updates to it on that aspect. Just off the right of your screen a moment ago, you saw a car from Virginia Tech making its way back out onto the track. They were out there this morning, and it's good to see them get going again. That was the University of Illinois car going by. That was a 4-minute, 45-second lap, which ties them with Stanford's fast lap. So I'm going to need to look up what our number 3 tiebreaker is, if that stands the way things are right now.
Berkeley is coming into pit.
Copy that, thank you.
I'll wait till that state goes. We have App State passing the line right now, doing just over 6-minute laps. They are running with 2 people in their car. I believe Poly Montreal is also running with 2 people in their car, and have been for all of today and yesterday. We have a view now from the center of the track. We can see both of our Illinois cars, the University of Illinois and Illinois State, just behind the wall there, completing another lap on the track. The track here at NCM Motorsports Park is Sorry about that, a few technical difficulties with this camera here. Our track here at NCM Motorsports Park is just under 3.2 miles long. So for every one lap, the teams are completing 3.15 miles roughly. And the MOV cars are getting credited for 3.15 times the number of passengers in their car. So for App State and Poly Montreal, that is 6.3 miles per lap. We have 4 teams coming up the front straight. The University of Florida, University of Illinois, and Poly Montreal. Those 3 you just saw go past. Poly Montreal is doing about 6 minutes and 20 seconds, just like the other MOV team on the track, App State. And now we have Montana State coming up the front straight as well. So that was car number 406 from Montana State, just passed by, doing about 9-minute laps. This is Montana State's first car and their second year here at the Formula Sun Grand Prix. Last year they competed with this car and they made some improvements and brought it back this year, and they're one of our 10 teams who are cleared from the start grid to getting their car through static and dynamic scrutineering in the allotted time prior to the event. We have a lot of new teams who come here and struggle to get through inspections, so a lot of credit to Montana State for getting through that last year and again this year, and getting their car out on the track. The question if Georgia Track an evening here in Kentucky. They are only 4-seater here this year. We have had 4-seaters in a few previous events, most notably at ASC 2018. ASC 2018 was won by the team from Onda Solare in Italy, who ran a 4-seater car with 4 people in the car for a lot of the American Solar Challenge event. I have 2 more cars here coming up the front straight. On the left side, who just executed a pass, is the University of Washington team. This is their first car and their first Formula Sun Grand Prix this year. It's good to have another new team out here on the track. It's car number 18. And they are running just over 6-minute laps. They are got to be near the top of the standings for laps completed today. Just behind them there is the 21 car from Virginia Tech at just over 8-minute lap. And then we have Florida Polytechnic, number 79, coming across with 6-minute and 15-second lap. again, we have a pass here on the front straight. On the left side is our MOV two-seater from App State. I will see if I can see how many people are in their car, but I'm pretty sure it's 2. Yep, I can see 2 helmets in there. It's another just over 6-minute lap from then, running pretty consistently at just over 6 minutes. And behind them is a number 24 car from Waterloo. So I have a question about why the cars are going a bit slower than yesterday. There's a couple of factors in the speed the teams choose to drive their cars, but most notably is that on the first day they start with a completely full battery. So their battery is fully charged from the wall ahead of time, and so they have a lot of energy to burn on the first day that they don't necessarily have in the next days. They may not have their battery full every morning. The MOV teams are allowed to charge from the wall, but when they charge, they can choose how much they charge, so they may not have charged to full last night. They've done the strategy on the balance between laps and energy. To my knowledge, Poly Montreal did not charge from the wall last night. I believe App State did, but I do not know how much they charged from the wall. And so they have to decide as a team which factors they can maximize. Of course, they can always drive more laps by charging more from the wall, but it may not result in a better score if that takes too much energy to do so. So there's a lot of factors for them to balance, which can result in slower laps today. Last 2 cars we saw go by were Stanford and Illinois. Stanford just did a 6-minute and 30-second lap. Ahead of them was Illinois doing just about 5-minute laps. And then we had Florida at 5:45. It's 2:20, so let me check if our 2 p.m. lap count was completed. Our 2 p.m. laps have been posted officially. That'll get us our 2-day lap total at this point. There we have Poly Montreal doing 6-minute laps. Looks like we do have our 2 o'clock lap update here. So as of 2 o'clock, Stanford is leading our SOV class with 109 laps to the 105 from Illinois. We see on the track right now that Illinois is going about 1.5 minutes faster per lap, so it looks like they're trying to make up some of that. They spent a little bit of time in the pit earlier today repairing an issue on their car. Berkeley has reclaimed a number 3 spot via tiebreaker. Berkeley has a 95 laps and a fastest lap of 4 minutes and 49 seconds. Florida Poly also has 95 laps, but a fastest lap time of 5 minutes and 58 seconds. Close behind them in 5th place is Western Michigan with 87 laps. Number 5 Florida is catching up to the group with 48 laps. Washington with 43. Waterloo with 23. Montana State with 11. Missouri S&T with 9. Virginia Tech with 8, and Illinois State with 7. In our MOV class, we can get a lap update. Poly Montreal still leads now by 3 laps, with 128 completed to App State's 125 laps. Georgia Tech is now they're still at 18 laps completed, and we will see them hopefully back out here to get that number up later today. The MOV class is, of course, determined by score, not by laps. So we'll have an update for scores at the end of the race day. Race day today is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 8 hours, but shifted 1 hour earlier from yesterday due to our ceremonial start at 10 a.m. yesterday. So we hope to have the official results from day 2, including MOV scores and any penalties that change the lap counts for teams, posted within an hour, hour and a half of the end of the race day. Throughout the race day, we have a representative from each team in our timing and scoring booth, and they are responsible for tracking the time of their team along with a buddy from a different team, and they certify each other's laps. As you following along from home know, we do have electronic lap timing here provided by our track here at NCM Motorsports Park. However, we still do manual timing with our solar car teams, as the electronic timing doesn't account for things such as laps where a car may have been towed in or may have been pushed along the route. I know we had a car break down in pit earlier today, so they were pushed back because they hadn't quite made it out on the track, but they did cross the timing line, but of course that's not a lap that counts. So at the end of the day, our head scorekeeper will go through all of these and reconcile the laps and make sure that the numbers he has that the teams are reporting to him are accurate with the papers that are signed off by them and their buddy team. They will then meet with the chief inspector and regulations manager to determine any penalties that have been given to teams. Teams may have penalties due to non-compliance from scrutineering. Non-safety critical issues in scrutineering can get you through with a penalty. So you have some teams out on the track I know who have a daily number of penalties that they receive each day they are on the track due to technical non-compliance. There are also operational penalties. So if a team is found to have violated the operational rules of the the Formula Sun Grand Prix, they may receive penalties for that. So we just saw the University of Illinois car passing on the front straight. You may not have heard it on the camera, but we could hear here that their horn was honking throughout the pass, which is a requirement for solar car teams to alert other solar car drivers that there is a car passing them. So if a team doesn't do that, they may receive a penalty for that, because that is a safety violation of the regulations here at the Formula Sun Grand Prix. The solar cars do not have the greatest of visibility, so we require the drivers to help each other out and make sure the event is safe by providing visual indication with their turn signals and audible indication with their horn to let other drivers know that they are going to be executing a pass. So that was Florida going through with a 4 minute and 57 second lap, one of their faster laps, and Virginia Tech coming here behind them with a just over 8 minute lap. So you can see on the right side of the screen, Montana State's car, number 406, heading into the cold pit out of the hot pit. So it looks like they are heading back to their garage to work on something after getting some laps in. Stanford just completed a 6 minute and 35 second lap, and Poly Montreal will be completing another lap here, doing 6 minute and 10 seconds. The car you see in the pit right now is Illinois State, car number 17. It would appear that they are getting ready to go back on the track. So before they can go on the track, exiting the pit, they go through a number of checks with one of our staff members to ensure that it's safe for their car to operate on the track. As we just mentioned with the requirements for turning, so we check that the horn is operating and that the turn signals are operating so that the driver can do those indications on the track. Additionally, we check that the radio is working so that the driver can communicate with their team back here in the pit and in the timing booth. We also check that the driver has adequate water. We require that the driver enter the car with at least a liter of water. And finally, we check the ballast with each driver. In order to maintain a fair weight for drivers so that teams aren't strategically picking super tiny drivers, all drivers are ballasted up to 80 kilograms, or roughly 175 pounds. So when a driver gets swapped, teams need to swap the appropriate ballast in to get that driver up to 80 kilograms. And once all those checks are through, the team is allowed and onto the track. So we have a line of cars here coming down the front straight. In front, you can see the white car, which is number 24 from Waterloo. Coming behind them quite fast appears to be the University of Illinois car, who just passed the University of Washington car behind them. So you may be able to hear this pass. You can hear the horn of the Illinois car as it drove by. So that was a pass they executed there. I did not, unfortunately, get a chance to see that lap time because Waterloo crossed the timing line literally seconds behind them. Let me see if I can find it on the online tracker here. I see 4:45 on the lap for Illinois there. So I guess just about their fastest time, and still about where we have them tied with Stanford. We have two more cars coming up the front straight here, two more of our single occupant vehicles. First 79 from Florida Poly, who has just passed behind them the Western Michigan car number 786. That is a 6-minute and 11-second lap time from Florida Poly. And we've got 826 from Western Michigan. Florida Poly is another one of our second-year teams. They were here last year with their first car. They did manage to get on the track just towards the end of the FSGP event last summer, and then they went home and put in the work to get back here with an even better car this year, and they've been going from day one right at the start. They were our second team through dynamic scrutineering and all of scrutineering, and they have just been cranking out those laps on the track all day long. That was Florida going by with a 5.5-minute lap. This is a new car for Florida this year. Their previous car was a first-place finisher at FSGP 2 years ago and competed last year as well. But they're back with their third car, I believe, this year. See if we can see some of these cars on the inside of the track. See that line of single occupant cars is making their way around here. On the left side of your screen, in the top left corner, you can see a little hut there. That is one of our corner worker stations. We have about 20 of them around the track, and their responsibility is to monitor the track and report back to our race control anything that happens on the track out of the ordinary. You can see the University of Illinois car coming right now across the back of the track here, leading that group of SOVs. Our corner workers also have 3 flags with them: yellow, blue, and red. Those are the 3 states that a track can be in. A red flag indicates that all solar cars need to stop. That would happen if, say, multiple cars were broken down blocking the entire track. We have also red flagged in the past for other situations on the track that don't involve solar cars, so an animal or something on the track that needs to be checked out by race control before we want to allow cars to drive. Just saw the University of Washington car go by. A yellow flag will be waved from a stand if there is an active hazard on the track. So that may mean a solar car that is stopped in the middle of the track, broken down, or it may mean that there's a rescue vehicle out on the track, so there may be people on the track helping rescue their car. And finally, we have a blue flag, which is an inactive hazard, so that may be a solar car stopped to the side of the track, or something like that that doesn't require too much attention, but just be aware something's coming up. During a yellow flag, solar cars are also not allowed to pass each other, so we have restrictions on passing if there's an active hazard on the track. You can now see Florida Poly going across the back of the track. And we just had Virginia Tech completing a lap here in 8 minutes on the front of the track. Now looking here on the front of the track, on the right side of the screen, you can see App State pulling out of the pit. I believe they just executed a fairly quick driver swap. On the front of the track we have Illinois State completing a 6 minute and 46 second lap, and just behind them we have the University of Illinois car completing a 4 minute and 49 second lap. So they are really flying out there trying to close that gap with Stanford. Far down on the right side you can see our pit entry. That appears to be the University of Washington car coming into pit. I believe I see some of their team members here waiting. It also appears they have a second driver ready to go potentially, so they may be executing a quick driver swap here. Let's see if we can see this driver swap. As I mentioned, this is the first year for the University of Washington team here at Formula Sun Grand Prix. So they have a lot of learning to do throughout the event about how things work, but they have come well prepared with a car that was ready to go. They had a few struggles at scrutineering, some of which can be attributed to the fact that it was their first time and they weren't quite sure what to expect, but they managed to get on the track yesterday afternoon and have been out there all day today. You can see the driver getting out of the car. At some point here we'll probably see the ballast swap as well. So he's been in there for several hours, so I imagine they're going to get him into some shade, some water, and some potentially some air conditioning here. Now they've opened the top of the car, which I believe is required in order to swap their ballast here. There comes the water out for them. Meanwhile, the University of Florida and Florida Polytech have both completed another lap. University of Florida just under 6 minutes, and Florida Poly at 6 minutes and 20 seconds. In addition to a driver swap, it appears that Washington will be doing a tire swap here as well. So you can see this row of tents here in the, what we call hot pit here on pit lane. Teams keep various supplies here so that they can keep the car in the hot pit and get back onto the track without heading to their garages. It's a lot quicker process not to have to go to your garage. During the race day, if the solar car has to leave the track and the hot pit area, it is accompanied at all time by either a staff member or a volunteer observer, whose job it is to monitor the teams and make sure they are complying with regulations. You know, they're not going to their garage to change their batteries or something like that. That wouldn't be allowed. So in order to leave the track, you have to find one of them to go with you. On busier days, that can be a bit of a challenge, but today most of our cars are on the track and doing well, so we do have some standing by ready if Washington were to need to go. But I see they brought the spare tire out and are ready to do a quick swap here. Teams that have time, this is one of the things they will practice back at home to maximize their time on the track. Tire swaps are not unexpected. It will happen to some teams that they need to do a tire swap midday. Generally, teams try to plan their tire rotation as much as possible to only do tire swaps at the end of the day, but you can't always control everything that happens, and you may get a flat spot or have a tire that's not holding pressure very well and need to swap it out. We have 5 cars coming here up the front straight. You're seeing Poly Montreal passing Western Michigan, followed by the University of Illinois with another 5-minute lap. Stanford right on their tail with a 6-minute lap. And momentarily you will see Waterloo as well. Apologies about that. I believe our camera looking down the back of the front straight is frozen right now. We'll try to get that resolved. But there were 5 cars there. So we'll leave Washington there to finish their driver swap and tire swap to get back on the track. Coming up the front straight now, we have App State and Illinois State. That's the big App State car on the right side of your screen, and the little Illinois State car on the left side. This time the honking from App State is just celebratory, as some of their friends and team members were overlooking and waving to them as they drove by. Illinois State's doing 6.5-minute laps. I didn't quite catch App State's lap times, but they've been pretty consistent here around just over 6 minutes. App State's been racing this car Rose since 2018. They've raced it in several American Solar Challenges and several more Formula Sun Grand Prix. This car that has several podium finishes and obviously is on pace for one of those again this year. Along with Poly Montreal and Minnesota, who's not here this year. Those are the 3 most successful MOV teams in North America. And we have several other teams, newcomers with their first MOVs, Georgia Tech and last year MIT, hoping to challenge them in the upcoming years. We have 2 more cars coming up the front straight. We have the Virginia Tech car, and behind them it looks like the Florida car. We have 3 of these little bullet cars out here that are an orange color on the front, but I think we've got it down how to distinguish them. That was just over 8 minutes from Virginia Tech, and from the University of Florida, their new car Flare, 5.5 minutes. So looking at our lap counts for so far today, it looks like Illinois has finally got their one on Stanford to break the tie. Florida Polytech still leads the single occupant class with 51 laps completed today. They, I believe, are the only team that hasn't spent time in the pit for anything other than driver changes. So they are another example of consistency on the track is a good way to do well at this event. We talk about efficiency at Solar Car, but this competition is as much about efficiency as it is about reliability. Here comes the University of Illinois car, another one of those narrow orange cars. The 5-minute and 9-second lap. Looks like Washington has their car all buttoned up. You can see them doing. Looks like they're doing the turn signal tests, and if I can guess from them laughing at themselves, they probably forgot to plug something in. The car is going to be opened up a little bit again here, and I think they will plug that in real quick and be ready to go. Two more cars up the front straight. We have, again, Poly Montreal. Also consistently running at 6 minutes, just like their other competitor in that MOV class who's on the track, App State. And Stanford behind them. Stanford at 6 minutes and 15-second lap. And now it looks like the car from Washington has been cleared to enter the track. So now you can see them pulling out of the pit, and they will be back out there with new tire, new driver, to get more laps in today. We just saw the Illinois team pass with a 5-minute and 15-second lap, and behind them Virginia Tech with just over 8-minute lap. Coming through next here is Waterloo, car number 24. With an 11-minute and 3-second lap. So we're getting to the time of day where some of these cars may be slowing down. It's quite hot out here, but as the sun gets lower, they may need to decide to preserve energy for tomorrow and not let their battery get too low today. They do have 5 hours of charging before tomorrow morning's start. So they have 3 hours this evening and 2 hours tomorrow morning to do charging off the track. So that's from 5 to 8 today, and tomorrow morning from 7 to 9. Poly Montreal once again with a roughly 6-minute lap, just over 6 minutes at 6:04. That evening and morning charging time allows teams to get a little bit more juice in the battery pack. It's still an energy management strategy here. Teams, based on the weather forecast and the characteristics of their car, should have a fairly good idea of how much power they can get from those 5 hours. Here goes Stanford with a 6-minute, 15-second lap. Looks like we have the Washington car coming back to pit. Maybe they need to check something out after their last pit stop. Or the driver's just doing a drive-by through the pit and going back on the track. Just checked in with our videographer and drone operator, Sonny. Sounds like he will be back out here shortly, so we'll get you some more drone footage and show you around the rest of the track. Now we have App State coming through. Six-and-a-half-minute lap. App State has done 1 fewer laps than Poly Montreal this year. There goes the Florida car. They just did a 5:45 lap. So they are catching up to Berkeley, who is not currently on the track, trying to get some info on what happened to them. There goes 2 cars right up the front straight. Illinois 22 passing Illinois State 17. In about 10 minutes here, we will get our official update on the results as of 3 p.m. So I will bring that to you. In the meantime, we have Florida Poly crossing the line here with a 6-minute and 15-second lap. So with a track length of 3.15 miles, a 6-minute lap is about 31.5 miles per hour. So these teams going just over 6 minutes are doing just about 30 mile per hour average speeds on the laps. They're definitely getting above that here on the front straight. There are some slow turns on the back of the track. Required to maintain an average speed of 30 miles per hour or higher. If they fail to do so, their score will be derated accordingly. There's a formula. Overly penalized, but if you miss it by a lot, you are significantly penalized. Here we go with the Sunseeker car with the 8.5-minute lap. Here comes Poly Montreal, number 55. Once again, just over 6 minutes at 6 minutes and 4 seconds. Seems to be a strategy for our MOV teams today to maintain that 30 miles per hour requirement, but not too much over it. I think they both gave themselves a little bit of leeway yesterday with their faster laps, slowed down a bit today. So of course, they want to make sure to give themselves some leeway for the last day so that if they get into some trouble, they don't miss that 30 mile per hour requirement. Here we have Virginia Tech and Stanford behind them. It's an 8-minute even from Virginia Tech, which is actually their fastest lap time so far today. And a 6:18 from Stanford, which is very close to their previous lap time of 6:17. Looks like our drone is just about ready to go up. In the meantime, we have the car from the University of Washington coming up the front straight. Now we have a line up the front straight. This is Florida with a 5:42 lap. Behind them is the University of Illinois. A 5:08 lap. And finally App State with a 6:18 lap. Have our drone up in the air now. So we'll get that to you in just a second. And we're going to try to show you around the full track here. This is, as I said, a 3-mile track. So We have our drone up in the air here over the front straight. I can show you the view looking at the back side of the front straight. So this is the opposite direction from what our main camera is looking. I think Sunny is going to go out here with the drone, and we are going to find a car. So you can see that tower that I am currently sitting in, where our camera is set up. And we're going to see Waterloo and I believe Florida come up the front straight here from the drone. There you have the Florida car on the right. Just over, or excuse me, that's the Illinois State car. They did a 6-minute, 30-second lap. And we're going to follow them around on this lap. See if our drone can keep up with that. On turn 1. So at the end of the straight here, they have that chicane. Receiving turn. You see a lot of runoff in the distance there, and then it sneaks up on you here. It's a very tight turn. I've had several teams struggle with this and last year. A few cars off the track into the gravel, and a few other cars onto the rumble strips on the side there. We can continue down the back of the track here, following the Illinois State car. The back part of the track here is fairly gradual turns, some rolling hills here, some elevation change. I believe we're climbing up to the highest elevation on the track here. The track at NCM has multiple configurations. So you see our solar cars take a right turn here. There's alternate configuration where this goes left, but this is the full course we're doing, so we won't take that shortcut. We'll take a sharp right turn here on turn 6, followed by another one on turn 7, into a more gradual turn 8 to the left here. After turn 8, they have this gradual right turn, which is turn 9, and then the hairpin turn on the inside of the track here, which is turn 10. Turn 10 is another sharp one. Turn 10 is another sharp one here. This is inside of turn 2, so that's turn 1 chicane off to the right. Slow down here and wait for the Illinois State car to catch up. There we go. A gradual left turn 11, and then turn 12 to the right. This is turn 14. Had a slight turn there, but this is a relatively straight section in the middle of the track where teams can get up to higher speeds again. This little wiggle here is turn 15. To a very long right turn 16. Across the highway from the track, off to the left there. I can't quite see it, a little behind the camera now, but is the National Corvette Museum and the factory here in Bowling Green where GM produces Corvettes. So we're continuing to turn right here. It gets a little bit sharper and that becomes turn 17. We're going to skip turns 18 and 19. There are power lines across the track, so we will meet back up at the end of turn 19 with Illinois State. There they are. So at turn 19 here, they enter a sharp or steep downhill right turn, and then immediately into a uphill left turn. This is known as the sinkhole here. And it's turn 20, a left turn there. Last year we had some teams struggle on the way out of the sinkhole. They get stuck on the uphill, and that was the cause of our only red flag last year, where we had 4 teams stuck at the same time, effectively blocking the entire track. We've gone through turn 21, 22, and now this right turn 23 is going to be all the way around to the front straight. Now Illinois State is going to get some speed. On the front straight here, and we'll see their lap come through. And that was a 6.5 minute lap from Illinois State. So we'll head back to the front straight here, and there are a few teams behind them. I think that would be a pretty good lap for Illinois State we just watched, that they're happy with. They didn't have to pass anybody, nobody had to pass them, and they're just consistently doing the 6.5 minute laps that they want to be doing. I have an update on the Berkeley team, CalSol. They had an electrical issue earlier this morning that took them off the track. In the process of repairing that issue, they noticed an issue with their suspension and required them to swap in some spare parts. So they are currently working on that and hoping to get back on the track still this afternoon. I found the Illinois car back in the middle of the track, towards the end of the track here, coming up the front straight. They are the fastest car on the track right now, so let's see if our drone can keep up with them down the front straight. That was a 4:57 lap, so one of the faster laps they've been doing. Not quite the fastest lap, but up there. They are, I believe, officially tied with Stanford for the fastest lap time. Our official times are not the electronic times here. However, if there was a tie for fastest lap, we would probably fall back to the electronic time. but officially we record to the nearest second for our lap times in our manual timing. So you can see the Illinois car going around turns 2 and 3. This is one of those long 3-wheel bullock style cars that have become more popular in recent years. Most of our single occupant cars this year are in fact bullock cars. Notable ones that aren't would be Castle and Missouri S&T. Those are catamaran style, which is what most of our multi-occupant vehicles, actually all of our multi-occupant vehicles on the track are. So it's 3:10. I think our 3 o'clock lap update should be available. I will check in on that. Yes, our 3 p.m. lap update is available. So officially, we still have a tie for fastest lap, which is 4:45 for Stanford and Illinois. Stanford is maintaining a 2-lap edge. Well, reduced to a 2-lap edge on Illinois. Stanford with 1:18 and Illinois with 1:16. Florida Poly has now in the lead for 3rd place, solo holder of 3rd place with 104 laps. Behind them is Berkeley with 95. Western Michigan 1 lap behind that with 94. Florida has moved into 6th place with 59. Washington with 51. Waterloo with 28. Virginia Tech with 15. Montana State with 14. Illinois State with 13. Missouri S&T with 9. Also in the SOVO class, UT Austin and the University of British Columbia. We're hoping to see them on the track today or tomorrow. They are working out a few issues, but clear to join the track once they are resolved. And the MOV side, Poly Montreal is still 3 laps up on App State as of 3 o'clock with 137 to 134. Georgia Tech is still at 18. As the Stanford car, we're watching in the middle of the track there. Let's see who else we can find here. A couple of teams just made pit stops to do driver changes, including Poly Montreal, who just got back on the track. And looks like Western Michigan is in the middle of one right now. Solar car drivers are limited to 6 hours in the car. However, teams generally won't make them do that long. So we are about 2 hours from the end of the race day, which is a good time for a driver swap. Get someone else in for 2 hours at the end of the day. That is the Poly Montreal car. We're looking at going around turn 9. Now we have Poly Montreal still going through that tighter inner turn here in the middle of the track, turning back to go to the far end of the track. See a whole group of cars there. Back into this left turn 8 here. It is the Illinois State executing a pass of Waterloo right now, and behind them is Florida Poly. And catching up to that is the University of Illinois. So a little bit of a traffic jam here, coming through turn 9, and we'll have that tight turn 10 coming up. During our competitions, there are no passing zones on the track. These are areas where we do not want solar car teams passing each other. So this is generally the tight turns on the track, as well as pit entry and pit exit. These are marked on the track with cones, and additionally shown to drivers during the driver track tour done the day before the start of FSGP, as well as communicated on maps of the track. So now that they're through that turn, we have the University of Illinois car passing Waterloo, and I think they're going to try and catch up to those other two teams as well. We're going to stay here with the Waterloo car. And now we're going to go catch up to some other teams. Head over to the entrance of the front straight, where we have the Virginia Tech car. Virginia Tech is about to complete their 17th lap of the day. We have about 1 hour and 40 minutes left in the day 2 of the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix 2025. Tomorrow will be another 8 hours of racing on the track here from 9 to 5. So the solar cars have a total of 24 hours of the track being open. I'm going to switch you over to the front straight here. You can see the Illinois car just completed a 5:27 lap. We saw them get stuck in a bit of a traffic jam, so that may be a little bit slower than they were hoping, but still maintaining some of the fast lap times on the track currently. Next up we have Illinois State with a 6:37 lap. We have Florida Poly with a 6:19 lap. See who we can find in the middle of the track with the drone. Looks like that is App State coming around turn 8, I believe. We got Poly Montreal, as you can see just a second ago on the bottom of the screen, following the App State. We're going to switch you over to the front straight here. We have 3 teams coming up the straight. We have Stanford with a 6-minute, 10-second lap. They are currently our leader in the SOV class, narrowly ahead of Illinois. We have Florida with a 5:47 lap and Waterloo with a 10:21 lap. Let's say a big thank you to all of you who are at home watching and cheering for your friends, family, or maybe even a team you're sponsoring here at the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix. We have been passing on all of the cheers that you are giving them in the chat to the teams here, and they are very excited to know there are people at home watching them compete here. That was the Washington car at just under 6 minutes. As many of you I'm sure know, as your friends or your family are on some of these teams, getting to the track is a huge achievement for these teams. As well as getting through the dynamics and static scrutineering and getting onto the track. So we have some new teams this year and some very veteran teams out here on the track. And for all of those teams, of course the goal is to come out here and win, but getting on the track is a huge challenge. So they deserve a lot of credit just for getting to that point. And from there, it's how well they can operate their car, strategy, and all sorts of factors that determine who's going to end up at the top on the podium tomorrow night. We've got our 2 MOV cars coming up the front straight here. We have App State. 6 minutes and 13 seconds. And we have Poly Montreal. Six minutes and 4 seconds. You can also see on the right side of the stream, on the screen here, coming into pit lane is the number 22 Illinois car. Looks like they have their whole team ready out here. Well, many people on their team. They're one of the bigger teams here. Cheering on their driver after a several-hour shift here. And I expect they are doing a driver swap. Got a bunch of people all around the car. Canopy popped open. Driver is out of the car. Water coming out. Seemingly empty water bag. I think the next thing they'll have to get out is the ballast bag. There that comes. So after they register at the driver and registration station here at Scrutinarian, the first thing they do is check the driver's license. Typically not an issue. All the drivers tend to show up with a driver's license. Then they will wristband the driver. Each driver gets assigned a color. Purple is our special color. That means the driver is common ballast, so the car will be permanently, for the event at least, ballasted up to the difference between the heaviest driver's weight and 80 kilograms, and then the other drivers will be ballasted the additional amount they need, so they will receive a different color wristband. So if you have the purple driver in the car, we don't really have to check your ballast. If you have another driver in, your ballast will get checked here before you head out on the track. And then, in addition to the ballast and the driver getting in with water, getting buckled in correctly, and having communications, they will check the rear vision, the lights, and the horn. And then they will give the driver the green light to head out onto the track. We have a question about what is the oldest team on the track today, and you are really putting my solar car history knowledge to the test here. I can't promise that this is the correct answer, but I believe the answer is either Stanford or Western Michigan. Both of those teams have been racing since Sun Race in the 90s. Waterloo is also one of the older teams, but I don't think quite that old. So you saw the Illinois car pull out of pit just a second ago. So that was a very quick driver swap from them. You want to minimize the time spent off the track so you can complete your laps as efficiently as possible without going faster than you need to. There's Washington coming around, just under 6-second lap. I want to say a big thank you to Sonny, our videographer and drone pilot here on staff of the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix. We will hopefully be back with more drone footage during tomorrow evening's stream. We will bring you at least the last hour tomorrow. I may be able to start it earlier than that, but we will get you that finish line as teams are racing. If all the teams manage to stay on the track the rest of the day and tomorrow, I think we're going to have some close finishes in the SOV class. Illinois and Stanford are within a few laps of each other right now for first place. We additionally have behind them a few other teams who are not too far away. So depending on whether Calsol gets back on the track and how fast the laps are doing, that could be quite a close race as well. So now we have our two MOVs First, Poly Montreal with a 6-minute flat lap, and App State behind them at 6:16. So Poly Montreal execute a pass somewhere on that lap to get ahead of App State. In addition to the competition going on the track here for the last couple of days, we've also had the Altair Challenge happening inside here at the NCM Motorsports Park headquarters. Altair Challenge is put on by one of our event sponsors, Altair, who makes software for designing and optimizing things like solar cars. So a lot of our teams use the software from Altair that Altair provides them for free. And as part of this challenge this year, a few members of each team were challenged to design a American Solar Challenge roll cage. So they were given the constraints of needing to design a regulations-compliant roll cage, and our regulation defines several loading cases that they need to pass. They're giving several other constraints from Altair in terms of what the rest of the system that the roll cage was going with. And Altair will be judging that. It actually ended earlier today, so Altair is doing that judging today and tomorrow ahead of the award ceremony, and they will be awarding a $10,000 grand prize to the team that designed the best roll cage, which I believe is determined by one, meeting all of the requirements in the regulations and their challenge rules, and second, using the least material. They've also awarded runner-up awards in the past about manufacturability and other aspects of actually making a good part. Last year was suspension, and this year it's in a roll cage. So that will be awarded tomorrow evening during our award ceremony. You can also tune into that live. It will start shortly after 7 p.m. tomorrow evening here at NCM Motorsports Park. We've got 3 cars coming up the front straight now. First is the Illinois car. New driver in, 6-minute and 12-second lap. Slowed down just a little bit, and it may be giving the driver just some time to get used to the car. Next up is number 18, Washington, the 6-minute 16-second. And finally, Virginia Tech, number 21. At 8 minutes and 29 seconds. On the right side of the screen, you can see App State entering the pit. We will take a look and see what they seem to be doing. And to the left, on the track, is Poly Montreal, completing another lap. Once again, 6 minutes and 4 seconds. Very consistent lap time from them. We also have Western Michigan here. At just under 10 minutes. We have a series of cars coming up the front straight here, led by Florida Poly, who I believe still has the most laps in the SOV class on day 2 here. They are doing 6:45 laps and getting passed there by Florida, who's doing about 5 minutes 45 second laps. We have 2 more SOVs making their way now. That'll be Illinois State on the left side and Stanford on the right side. Illinois State doing a 6.5 minute lap. Stanford doing a 6-minute lap. Finally here in this group is the Illinois car, number 22. Doing a 5.5 minute lap. A little bit faster than last time. Seems they may be having this new driver slowly speed up. Back to the speeds maybe they were at earlier. there again. That was Esteban again with a lap just under 6 minutes. So they're still out there going consistently at their 6-minute lap time to keep their average speed just a little bit above 30 miles per hour.
Oh, they just die on the front straight.
Switch back to the view of the front straight. I have a line of cars coming here. We have Waterloo first, 24. And App State behind them. App State's back on the track after their short stop in the pit. And Virginia Tech is the third car coming by. So that was 10.5 minutes from Waterloo. 6.5 from App State. And we will see Virginia Tech in a second. That is just under 9 minutes from Virginia Tech. I got asked about live stream plans for tomorrow. Tomorrow we will definitely live stream the end of the race. We may do a live stream earlier in the day as well. I will see in the morning how many teams are going to be on the track right at the start. This morning we had a number of teams elect to start a little bit later in the day. Get a few more hours of charge, or a few more minutes, 15, 30, 45 minutes more of charging in the morning. Live streams aren't quite as interesting if there's only a couple cars on the track. But we will definitely cover the start on all our social media if we aren't live streaming. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as at AmericanSolarChallenge.org. We now have the Florida car about to cross the line here at a 5 minute and 41 second lap. So definitely follow along at AmericanSolarChallenge.org. That's where official results will be posted tonight. The race day ends at 5. You can expect official results to be posted in about an hour, hour and a half after that. We will announce it on our social media as well, on Instagram and Facebook. We are American Solar Challenge on both of those. If you want to get notified of live streams, you can also subscribe here on YouTube and turn on notifications, and you can get notified anytime we go live. And you can catch us, catch all the live streams we do. Some of them will be a little last minute depending on when teams are on and off the track. We want to bring you as many of them as possible. So we got 4 teams, a little bit of a traffic jam here on the front straight. First is Stanford, Florida Poly, Illinois, and Illinois State. We got Illinois has now taken the lead of those group, passing a couple of them there. Florida Poly is also passing Stanford, and Illinois State at the back. I need to check in on what those lap times were. They went through very quick. Didn't quite catch them all.
Wow. Oh, that's a go kart. Somebody's going to.
Looks like for Illinois, that was a 5:45 lap. Stanford 6:05. Florida Poly 6:41. And Illinois State 6:12. It looks like the University of Illinois has caught Florida Poly for the most laps today at 61. Stanford's at 59. Washington at 58. Western Michigan just completed 45. Florida at 40. Berkeley at 31. Illinois State at 21. Virginia Tech at 20. And then Montana State, Waterloo, and Missouri S&T still at 13, 10, and 8 respectively. Our two MOVs actually have the most laps ahead of all of the SOVs. Poly Montreal with 65 and App State with 64. We have a new team who has pulled their car into the pit to get it ready to head out on the track. That will be UT Austin, car number 8, looking to get in their first laps of the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix 2025. So they've pulled into their pit lane there. Looks like they're going to run through some checks, make sure they have all the required safety equipment in the pit, and the car is good to go, and then they will let them onto the track. And there's the UT Austin car on the left side, heading out of the pit and toward turns 1 and 2 here on the track. There goes the Florida car, doing a 5:52 lap. And there goes Illinois with a 5-minute 23-second lap. See Stanford next. We'll see what lap speed they're doing. On the right side of the screen, you can see 2 cars coming into the pit. Looks like Florida Poly, followed by Waterloo, are going to pit on this lap. And we have Stanford, Virginia Tech, and Illinois State coming up the front straight. That is 6:04 from Stanford. Illinois State executing a pass to complete their lap in 6:16. Finally, Virginia Tech 8:30. There's Poly Montreal with another just over 6-minute lap. We also have Florida Poly, who has just entered the track at the end of pit lane there after a short pit stop. Waterloo seems to be heading back to the cold pit. They may be calling it an end of the day. They are going quite slow there at the end, so they may be going to charge up for tomorrow. We will let you know if we find out. Looks like we are about 10 minutes away from getting our 4 p.m. lap update. That will be our last lap update of the day, at least in terms of official laps, until the final results are published. The race day ends at 5 p.m., but it does take some time to reconcile the laps at the end of the day. In addition to the laps at the end of the day, the staff will go through any reports that warrant penalties and double check on technical penalties. Teams do have the ability to resolve situations during the event that are causing technical penalties. I know we have at least one such team who had a penalty over the first day, who has resolved it today. I believe that was due to a parking brake issue, but it's now compliant, and so they won't be receiving that penalty for the next 2 days of the event. There's our other MOV team there with a 6-minute 14-second lap, so still maintaining that 30-mile-per-hour requirement. We have Florida Gators, 5.5 minutes, and Western Michigan coming up behind them. As a 9-minute 53-second lap from Western Michigan. And here we have the University of Illinois, car number 22. 5:45 on that lap. Just had Stanford go by on a 6-minute lap. UT Austin has finished their first lap, but they've come into the pit. Looks like they're going to do some checks. First lap of the event for them. We've still not yet seen UBC back out here after their motor issues earlier today. Also waiting on hopefully Georgia Tech to get back out here. Now we have 3 cars coming up the front straight. On the far left side, we have a 4th car. On the far left side is Poly Montreal, who has just passed Washington. Behind them, Virginia Tech. And look at that, 6:02 from Poly Montreal. I don't think I've seen a lap that's more than 10 or 15 seconds different than that from them in the last several hours. 6:35 from Washington. 8:33 from Virginia Tech and 6:38 from Florida Poly, who's just passed Virginia Tech following the timing line here. It's also App State doing a 6-minute 15-second lap. And Florida coming up behind them here. At a 5:59 for Florida. And now we have the University of Illinois team, who is doing the fastest laps of the day earlier today. Slowed down a little bit as we get towards the end of the day, and the battery gets a little bit lower. Doing a 5-minute 38-second lap. On the right side of your screen, you can see the UT Austin car getting ready to go back out. They're doing a lights check right now on the rear lights and a rear vision check with the rear view camera. That was Stanford with a 6-minute 3-second lap. It is a few minutes after 4 o'clock here. Let me check in on whether our 4 p.m. lap update is available. In the meantime, on the right side of your screen, you see the UT Austin car pulling out of the pit, heading back out for their second lap of the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix 2025. You just watched the Illinois State car and the Western Michigan car as they crossed the timing line. On the right side, you can see our Georgia Tech car heading out on the track. Let's see if we can see how many people are in that car. I saw the 2 seats in the front row full. I believe they have been planning to drive with 4 people for most of the event, so they likely have 4 in there. We'll see if we can get an answer for you. But I do have the results as of 4 o'clock. We'll start with our MOV class this time. Poly Montreal has extended their lap lead over App State by 1 more lap to 147 to 143 with a 4-lap delta. No change for Georgia Tech, but you will see hopefully more laps here for Georgia Tech in the next update, now that they're back on the track for the last hour of day 2. Let's take a look at our SOV class. Stanford maintains a 1-lap advantage on the University of Illinois, 128 to 127. Florida Poly is still in 3rd with 113. Western Michigan with 100 in 4th. University of California, Berkeley in 5th with 95. University of Florida with 69. Washington with 60. Waterloo with 33. Illinois State and Virginia Tech tied with 22. Illinois State ahead on a tiebreaker of fastest lap. Montana State with 14. Missouri S&T with 9. And the UT Austin had completed 1 lap at that time. They are currently out on their 2nd lap of the day. We can see we can't actually see anything. It seems our camera has turned off. We just had the University of Illinois and Florida cars go through, as well as the App State car. Just off the left side of the screen here, you can see the Georgia Tech car making its way around as they're getting passed by the University of Illinois car. So we should see them complete their first lap, or their first lap back on the track this evening shortly. Got a line of cars coming down the front straight here. First we have Florida Poly, the 6:26 lap. University of Illinois with 5:37. And lastly, UT Austin with a 9-minute 11-second lap. We have 4 more cars. First we have the University of Washington. The 6:33 lap, followed by Florida with a 5:59 and Georgia Tech with a 7:51. And next is App State with 6:14. Very consistent. Oh, apologies about the camera. It's getting a little hot out here in our streaming area.
No, I said, who do you have stuck by you?
Control runway, we have option 8. Copy. From Texas, copy.
Yeah, copy that 1A. We'll do a yellow flag for you.
I have the Western Michigan car coming through, and you can see our active yellow flag here. The car from UT Austin has stopped here at the next turn. So we have active yellow out here to warn the teams of an on-track hazard here, which is the UT Austin car being stopped on the track.
Control runway, do I need to check to see if the people in the car are okay?
Control to 1A, I think it's okay. They're supposed to have communication with the team, and so the team will decide what to do. So we just get to sit and enjoy the view here. Recovery.
Switching to the back view here, you can see the UT Austin car just before turn 1A. Stopped on the side of the track. So they'll be communicating with their team back in the pit, deciding what to do. See if they can come out and get it fixed on the side of the track. Otherwise, they'll have a tow back into the pit for a longer repair. Good evening, everyone. And we see on the right side of the screen there the SIUE car making its way out to the track. We have just under 10 minutes left in race day 2 of the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix 2025. I am Jonathan Mullen. I am on the staff here of the Formula Sun Grand Prix. So we have SIUE making their way out, trying to get one lap in today.
I'll let you know.
And that will be, they are the last team cleared through scrutineering here. So good to see one more team on the track. I'm going to get you lap count updates in just a minute, and we are going to see the last couple of laps here from all of the teams. As of 4:45 p.m., we have a tie at the top of the SOV class with Illinois and Stanford both at 135 laps. They also have the same fastest lap. So we'll find out at the end of the day on the official results what the tiebreaker is for that, if they are tied after penalties and everything else. Behind them is Florida Poly with 120, Western Michigan with 105, Berkeley with 95, Florida with 77, Washington with 67, Waterloo with 33, Illinois State with 28, passing Virginia Tech with 26, Montana State with 14, S&T with 10, UT Austin with 1, and now we have the SIUE out here, and they should have their first lap hopefully by the end of the day today. In the MOV class, we have Poly Montreal with 75 and App State with 74 today for 154 and 151 overall, making up just a little bit of one more lap here for App State in the last 45 minutes. So we are 5 minutes from the end of the race day, and the white flag has flown. Teams continue to go, and here the way the end of the day works is as long as you start your lap before the checkered flag, you are allowed to finish it, provided you take no more than 20% longer than your previous lap. So if you do a 10-minute lap, you have 12 minutes for your last lap, as long as you start that lap before the checkered flag flies. I had a question about how the numbers compared to last year. The 79 laps completed by yesterday by Poly Montreal is the most completed in a single day by any team at NCM Motorsports Park over the last 2 years. Last year's high was 76 by ETS and 75 in the MOV class by Iowa State. The total lap counts after 2 days appear to be relatively similar to the leaders at the top end last year. However, the competition is much closer so far this year. So there's our Poly Montreal heading out to the evening charging area. Solar cars will be able to charge until 8 p.m. tonight in the evening charging area to soak up the sun to fill up their battery for tomorrow. So you may see some teams decide to come in here now, and other teams may decide to stay out and push for that one more lap. In terms of how our penalties assessed, some teams have penalties for things that come out of scrutineering. So, for example, a common penalty that several teams have this year is for a non-compliant parking brake. We typically would not allow that on the road for American Solar Challenge. However, at Formula Sun Grand Prix on the track, they get on the track with a penalty. So that lap is assessed. That penalty is assessed as a number of laps per day, which I believe is 4 laps per day. Teams do have the opportunity to repair these issues, as we see Missouri S&T on the left and Florida on the right going around. They're going to go around for one more lap here. So as I was saying, technical penalties can be resolved. I know at least one team resolved one last night, so they received the daily penalty on the first day, but will not receive it on the second and third days because their car is now compliant. So these can be assessed from scrutineering for all sorts of non-safety related non-compliance with the regs. And the purpose of these is to penalize teams, obviously, for not complying with the regs. And generally, non-safety related regs are competitive regs, and so as to keep the playing field level. Of course, in an ASC year, we would probably consider a parking brake a safety-related reg, but this year on the track, not quite. We just had Illinois and Stanford go through here, our 2 leading SOVs, both doing about 5 minute 45 second laps. So they will have just under 7 minutes to complete their final lap here, which will be completed after the checkered flag flies. Teams can also receive penalties for infractions on the track or around the track. So you can receive a penalty for passing without your horn or turn signals on the track, or for executing otherwise dangerous passes. We have some no passing zones on this track, so if you pass in a no passing zone, you will be assessed a penalty. You can receive other penalties, such as improper ballast. So if you don't put the right ballast in with your driver, you can be penalized for those laps completed with improper ballast. That, I believe, depends on how improper the ballast was. Obviously, there's no penalty if you have a lighter driver's ballast in, so they're still ballasted above the 80 kilograms. But if you do it the other way, there will be a penalty. You can receive penalties for exceeding the speed limit in the pit lane. There is a speed limit in the pit lane of a relatively low speed anywhere there are tents and people. So the area where Washington's right now has a pit lane speed limit. Once the cars get past this area, we do allow them to speed up to join the track. And now the checkered flag is flying.
Just in case somebody comes to you so they don't go past you.
Understood, and I am out here as well.
Show you the checkered flag here at our finish line. There are several teams still on the track, so they'll be finishing this one more lap. They can decide to either finish into the pit, which is generally preferred because it takes a while to get off your track if you finish on the track. So teams will finish in the pit if time allows. If they have a tight time limit to finish the last lap, they will potentially finish on the line on the track. So you can see Illinois State has stopped into the pit to finish the last lap. We have Western Michigan and Georgia Tech also coming in for their last laps through the pit. And we're waiting on a handful of other teams who started one last lap in the last couple minutes before the hour. So it'll be another minute or two before we expect to see them around here on the front. We have a question about teams not cleared for the track at this point. So over the past several days, teams have been working their way through scrutineering process, static and eventually dynamic once they get through statics. Through all of those, they must get greens or blues to get on the track. And so several teams have been unable to do that at this point. At this point, the dynamic scrutineering is closed, so many teams that haven't passed that will not make it on the track this year. SIUE did pass that and had a few other things to work on today to get all green, so they were able to work on those static inspections where they had minor items left.
Looks like SNT might be bringing up the rear.
And here is SIUE finishing the first lap of FSGP 2025. Behind them is the number 22 Illinois car, finishing their last lap. Looks like they coming in on time. Just about 6 minutes since they left, so that lap should be good. We have Virginia Tech coming around the corner there. Behind them is, I believe, Florida, and behind that, Stanford. So for the next 3 hours until 8 p.m., the solar cars will be out in the charging field here at NCM Motorsports Park, soaking up the sun to get their battery ready for tomorrow. The hours of evening and morning charging do not provide enough for a full battery, so teams start the race with a full battery in the SOV class and the MOV class. In the SOV class, they have to manage their driving speeds and their charging hours to keep enough power to get through the competition. In the MOV class, as soon as they're off the track this evening and the track is closed, which is now, they are allowed to do charging from the wall. This is metered with an energy meter and will be calculated out of their total score as one of the components. We will find out tonight when official results are posted in a little over an hour, most likely, whether any teams did wall charging yesterday evening. I think we're waiting on one more car to finish their last lap around the track, which would be Missouri S&T. So to see the official results from the end of today, those will be posted to our website at americansolarchallenge.org. We will also share the link to that on our social media. On Facebook and Instagram, you can find us at American Solar Challenge. That's the best way to keep up with the happenings here and get the most up-to-date information other than these live streams. We will have multiple live streams tomorrow as well. We will for sure bring you the end of the competition, so roughly the last hour of the race day tomorrow from 4 p.m. Central here until the checkered flag at 5 p.m. We will bring you the awards ceremony, which will start around 7 p.m. tomorrow Central Time. We're also trying to bring you the start line tomorrow morning, which is 9 a.m. Central Time.
Okay, recovery 2, you're clear to go out there.
Looks like Missouri S&T will need a tow on this last lap, so the recovery van's going to head out here in just a second. So I think we've seen all the teams that will drive in on solar power this evening. I want to thank you all for watching here on our live streams and supporting your family and friends who are on these solar car teams. We will be back with you tomorrow live here from NCM Motorsports Park. Please subscribe here on YouTube. You can turn on notifications for our channel to get notified when a live stream starts. Tomorrow morning we will plan to live from the beginning if possible. I will keep an eye on how the teams are doing and how many will be on the track at the start. We want to bring you as many teams as possible so everyone can see the team that they're here to watch. So you just saw our rescue vans in the bottom right corner. One of those is going to go out to get the Missouri car, and the other one is going to go out to pick up all of our corner workers who are done for the day. So we're going to sign off from the evening here. And thanks for joining us for the last few hours here. I want to say thank you, of course, to all the sponsors who make this event possible. Of course, our title sponsor, Electrek, and Altair, who finished the Altair Challenge today. Tune in to our live stream tomorrow night for the award ceremony to see who will take home the $10,000 grand prize in the Altair Challenge. And thanks to all the sponsors who have made this event possible. It would definitely not be possible to be out here with 37 teams without the support of all of these sponsors. Many of our sponsors have been here this week recruiting from the solar car teams. So we will be back live with you tomorrow morning. Look for those official results with the official results from day 2 tonight in about an hour. We will post those on social media as well as all the details on the website. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you will join again tomorrow for the third day of the Electrek Formula Sun Grand Prix 2025.